A Cat That Really Was Gone. A story by Big Rug. Chapter 2.
Can't stand these Marines.
She chewed and spoke, spewing particles of chocolate across the dashboard of the car. She continued her tirade that had been at its peak since they had been parked on the street. The windows were frosted over, telling of the outside environment being way too damn cold. At least, for Shiev it was. Shivanti were not made for this, especially not an agent like her. She should be getting pounded by some starstruck human in a deluxe suite for information, not babysitting an overgrown youngling who didn't know how to close their mouth for anything.
I mean, for real, we know something's up with the lady. Why do we have to sit her and wait to grab her 'cause some damn ground pounder trusts her? Let's just go in, shoot her with the stun a few times, and boom, we're out of this ice rock.
She peeled down the wrapper to expose more of the dark goodness inside. For real, you should try this, Shiv. These humans got snacks that'll blow your damn tits off. She motioned towards the apathetic and brooding leader in the driver's seat with the half-eaten candy bar. Shiv spared a glance to the annoyance. A spit-covered stick of food now shoved into her personal bubble she had worked so hard to maintain. Dura, I will repeat this once more and only once more. The General is attempting a peaceful form of interrogation and apprehension. Once she gives the go-ahead, we go in and grab her. She stopped chewing momentarily, comprehending her instructions.
Yeah, okay.
Unbelievable. How did this infant land into her lap? She had been told her operative partners for Earth would be top of the class. Outstanding performance records, and nothing, absolutely nothing, had even mentioned atrocious manners. And we grab her nicely. General Bozani is bending over backwards to help us here, something the military doesn't do often. Show a little respect for her friend. Poor lady might never see her again. Dura sighed, kicking her feet up on the dashboard. An impressive feat given the dimensions of a Shivanti.
Fine. All kinds of helpful. We'll simply escort her to our vehicle, and then proceed to generously ship her off to some compounder orbiter where she'll never be heard from again.
Swallowing the last of her treat, she tossed the wrapper behind her into the back seat.
Face it, boss lady, there's a reason we get so much friction with the Navy and all of them. We stick our tusk in someone else's business. We tell them what to do and then just leave. We aren't a likable bunch, so quit this honor shit. You ain't fooling anyone.
Dura didn't see it. She was too busy picking her nails with her tusk. But Shiev was clenching her jaw so hard her teeth might damn well shatter. The raw insolence of someone so beneath her almost made her crack her companion's skull through the window she was pressed against. Deep gusts came from her nostrils as she willed herself down from the adrenaline rush of pure rage. She was so close to unleashing everything in her vocabulary on this meddling imbecile until her wrist began to vibrate. She quickly snapped out of her stupor and glanced down at the wrist-held indicator. The General was ready. Metal alloy groaned and shifted, ripped apart at the seams. Calloused hands gripped harder, tearing through the hardened security door like wet paper. He had grown frustrated at the entrance of the command room, which was barricaded automatically in times of emergencies, such as complete power loss. He had stood outside the entrance for a while, standing still in the dark, determining the best course of action. Brute force had been the victor. Hands curled onto the top of the sealed vault. Fibers linked and became steadfast, the body bracing before putting itself to work. Though he was far from his prime as of now, the door began to screech. Inches of reinforced alloy bent downwards. His lats spread, bearing the brunt of the load before he yanked downwards, triceps kicking into overdrive, completely folding the door. It fell into the command room, defeated at last. He stood still in the entranceway, rolling back his shoulders from their surprise usage. Opening his mouth only just, a faint growl rolled through his tongue into the deserted center. Sound waves reached around every crevice, reaching back to him to make a rough outline of the room. Rows of technology belonging to an age long since past greeted his senses. A semicircle was formed out of the computational equipment, surrounding a wall of what he remembered to be monitors. Cameras around the facility, where they had watched him. The command room. Power controls should be attached. He made more noise, bouncing constant feedback around the room. Accelerated deduction kicked in, memories pulled from the back of the head. He had visited here, only once. Where would they put the heart of the station? He had entered with the father. He had been shown the scale of their reach, their complete control of his entire home. The brain worked harder this time, reaching even further into the depth. There was a hatch below the center console in front of the monitors. Small details were important, and he observed them no matter what the situation was. A secret hatch that had no markings right in the middle of the command room? He remembered it quite well. A last, final grunt showed him the outline of the hatch, an unsuspecting bulge in the cold floor. His fingers rubbed the surface exploratively, grasping for a way to breach. It was sealed, just like the door, much to his chagrin. Brute force again, then. He stood next to the hatch, cracking his neck in preparation. He lifted his bare foot, and after a moment of hesitation, slammed it back down into the reinforced metal. A large dent appeared, and his foot looked no worse for wear. Again it came down, his muscular legs rippled upon impact. The teardrops of his legs clenched for the final time, rocketing the hatch downwards into the darkness before a tremendous bang echoed back. Wasting no time, he jumped down into the darkness. When the hatch had fallen, he had seen how far the ladder reached down from the noise of the impact. Around 200 feet, an easy drop for him. Landing procedure techniques filled his mind, hitting the balls of his feet and then rolling on the impact along the side of his body. But that was for higher altitudes. He felt no need to slow himself down. Wind whistled past his ears before he impacted heavily into the dark chamber below. Power. It was his priority now. He needed it back. In event of a complete power outage, it was likely the facility had some sort of oh shit backup plan. Hidden stores of a gas generator or a battery cell left in the dark. Pipes and wires, still in somewhat clear condition, led from the oversized boxes to oval emplacements in the circumference of the area. He growled lowly to extend his view. One of these containers had a cap, a gas cap, he knew. Striding around the room to view any sort of spare tanks, he saw none. He grasped the large machine and shook it. No gas. He let go and let the gas generator topple to begin his scouring again. A small cylinder was isolated from the rest of the equipment, with many pipes and wires leading to the ground beneath the curious emplacement. This was important. He once again fumbled around with the cylinder mounted on the wall, finding any sort of clues to the function of it. Brute force would not be acceptable this time. He felt a carving on the outside and grasped the release handle to open the container. Nothing happened. There were buttons he had found inside, and decided against mindlessly slapping them to see what happened. He could not see, and echolocation could not see fine detail. Logic, that was what he needed. He nodded his head upwards, closing his wide orbs. How did a compound this large survive without backup gas? The brain worked overtime, once again diving deep into subconscious memory. Normally he didn't forget a thing. Every detail mattered. He'd learned his lesson. But his time spent in stasis was still easing off. He found himself annoyed at his failing memories. Anything, an overhead discussion about it. He recalled the discussion they thought he didn't hear, but he did. He heard quite a lot. Infinite mass. One of them had worked on black holes, the creation of them. He remembered one had a birthday, October 8th. He knew. Details others forgot. He knew. Some names he knew, but he never bothered to say them. He didn't really talk. He heard a mechanic complain about danger. What danger could a mechanic face? Browse frowned, grasping at the last details. His complaint he heard from the hallways. It was radiation. Radiation, radiation, radiation. His eyes snapped open. The power was nuclear.